AlphaTauri earned a point at the Belgian Grand Prix for the third time this season, courtesy of Yuki Tsunoda. The Japanese driver earned all 3 World Championship points for the Faenza-based team, but he does have a challenging teammate in Daniel Ricciardo, who can start reaping his own dividends in the second part of the season. Who of these two will come out on top, and are AlphaTauri going to experience problems with these two? Ricciardo has now competed in 2 Formula 1 races at AlphaTauri. In Hungary, he made his Formula 1 return and was instantly faster than Tsunoda in qualifying and the race. But in Belgium, it was the Japanese who dominated, finishing 10th. Ricciardo, 34, still has 10 races to catch Tsunoda in the World Championship. Red Bull Racing has high expectations after witnessing the Australians succeed during the Pirelli tyre test in the RB19 at Silverstone. Ricciardo, of course, must get acclimated to the AT04, but what will he be capable of once he does? It goes without saying that scoring points with the current AlphaTauri has been quite difficult. As a result, we'll have a better idea of how excellent Tsunoda is, because, as previously said, Red Bull still has a high view of Ricciardo. If Perez fails miserably in the second part of the season in the RB19 with Max Verstappen, the outcome of the clash between the two AlphaTauri drivers may still be vital for a prospective Red Bull position in 2024. So who will come out on top? Will it be Yuki Tsunoda, who is finally impressing some in his 3rd season? Or will it be Daniel Ricciardo, who could surprise everyone after his shock return? Right now, the score is 1-1 in terms of race finishes, but the Belgian Grand Prix made Ricciardo look a lot worse than the Hungarian Grand Prix did to Tsunoda. But Daniel Ricciardo says he doesn't want to be too discouraged after failing to score points for AlphaTauri at the Belgian Grand Prix. Ricciardo's second F1 appearance with AlphaTauri was difficult since he was pushed into a sprint weekend influenced by weather, with only the FP1 session to perfect the setup. He made matters worse by losing his best time in Q1 due to a track limits violation at Eau Rouge, which dropped him to 19th on the grid for Sunday's main race. In Saturday's sprint, he was encouraged by a decent run to 10th place on a wet track. In the dry Grand Prix, he made good early progress but finished 16th on a day when teammate Yuki Tsunoda excelled by battling inside the top 10 and claiming the last point. The Australian was unable to compete with teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Ricciardo spoke with the media after the race. "I felt quite, let's say, limited today in terms of pace," said Ricciardo when asked about his race. "I think even in clear air I was struggling a lot. Honestly, just getting the front end all through the middle sector, all the high-speed sections, I was just washing out. It was probably not that we weren't turning the tyres on, but probably just not producing enough grip, and then I was sliding and overheating really quickly. In clear air, we didn't break away from the pack. We couldn't. It felt like they were able to get more out of their tyres early, so then I was normally getting overtaken while we all had fresh tyres. And then when it settled, I'd have a bit better pace, but stuck behind them. And then obviously, we know that's not good for tyres as well, so a bit of a tough race." Despite not scoring before the summer break, Ricciardo's not concerned about his performance. "I don't want to be too discouraged. It was our only dry session all weekend, so it could be something simple with setup. We went the wrong way and that's that. But yeah, I just wish I could have been able to attack a little more." He added, "I was always around cars that were really quick on the straight as well, so I was watching a lot of gearboxes today. People have gearboxes as like mantelpieces in their houses. It's not really my thing, so I don't need to see any more." Ricciardo felt that Spa revealed the AT04's flaws more than the Hungaroring's strong downforce. "For me today, I didn't feel like the car was on," he said. "So even for the given downforce, I felt like a new tyre, we weren't really getting that peak out of it. And I wasn't really feeling it kind of bite and load up, so that's probably the thing where we'll obviously try to understand where we missed. Especially with the rain all weekend, the track felt green. It did feel like it was pretty average conditions. The race pace felt quite slow, so all these things probably contribute. It's all learning. I think as well, I'm always going to be quite hard on myself, but I shouldn't be expecting the world at the moment. It's all learning, but hopefully we'll get a few more answers." Ricciardo admitted that his lack of understanding of his car and current tyres in comparison to competitors had a role. "I'm sure there's a little bit of that, but yeah, I still feel like we missed a little bit. I'm sure it's a bit of both. In saying that, I'm glad again I got the race distance. A lot to learn, a lot to feed back to the team. I saw Yuki got 10th, so it looked like he had a decent race, so try to learn a bit from that as well." This is Ricciardo's second race at AlphaTauri after being brought in to replace Nick de Vries. If he hadn't been involved in the first lap collision with Zhou Guanyu, Red Bull Motorsport advisor Helmut Marko believes he may have won points on his comeback to the team in Hungary. It's just tough in a race when you're not really making progress, and that's where you try a few things, but sometimes it doesn't work, or you lock up or you have a moment, explained Ricciardo. So you kind of just feel like, alright, today's maybe not the day. But 9 days ago, I hadn't driven this car, so when I put everything into perspective, I think we're okay. At this moment, the comeback hasn't been what many had hoped for right away, but Daniel Ricciardo feels his early comeback to Formula 1 team AlphaTauri will serve as a springboard for him during the summer break. When in-season swaps are made, drivers are normally changed during the summer break, but Ricciardo believes that the extra 2 races before the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort at the end of August will be beneficial during his loan stay from Red Bull. When I got the call up, in my head I was like, okay, I thought they would probably just wait for the summer break, Ricciardo said. But I am actually really glad that I got these 2 races before the break because it gives me something to certainly think about, build on, and to throw some questions back at the team. We're going to Zandvoort much better prepared than if that was my first race, so it gives us a springboard into the second half of the season. For me personally, I know where my fitness is at, so I can work on that during the summer break. While everyone is sipping pina coladas, I'll be in the gym. Everyone else will be doing pretty much more partying than me, especially Pierre Gasly after his podium in the sprint, but I'll be in the gym and having much less alcohol than everyone else. But the question remains, who will come out on top? Will Daniel Ricciardo's experience shine through in the upcoming races? Or will Yuki Tsunoda keep impressing us? And what happens at the end of the season? Could we expect to see Ricciardo getting a contract at AlphaTauri? Or was he just a placeholder to see if Tsunoda or Ricciardo might be the better fit for Red Bull, who seem to be actively looking to replace Perez? Who could replace him? One thing is certain, and that is if Sergio Perez loses his seat, Red Bull is apparently not interested in replacing him. According to The Athletic's Luke Shaw, the senior squad does not see Tsunoda, who is presently racing for the youth AlphaTauri team, as a potential alternative for next year or 2025. Tsunoda has a history with Honda, having worked his way up through the ranks, and the company will collaborate with Aston Martin beginning in 2026. Such an arrangement might see Red Bull keep clear of Tsunoda, as this could mean that Tsunoda is bound to go to Aston Martin from 2026 and on. As for the future Red Bull seat, it's very early days, Smith writes. The indications from Red Bull in the past have been that Tsunoda isn't someone they're looking at seriously to step up in the near future. Ricciardo is a known quantity for Red Bull. His return will tell it as much about Tsunoda as it will about Ricciardo. Should Red Bull decide to look at driver options other than Perez for 2025, it will surely consider available options, not just those racing for AlphaTauri. Other Red Bull juniors that might be promoted to F1 soon include Liam Lawson, Zane Maloney, Enzo Fittipaldi and Dennis Hauger. But Ricciardo could be a wildcard here. So what do you think? Who will end up on top at AlphaTauri? And do the 2 drivers really have a good shot of securing a Red Bull seat for 2024 or even 2025? Or could we see an outsider joining the Red Bull team? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'd love to see your predictions.